Yes, cool. Thank you so much. Okay, just a minute to see if anyone else will join us live. Okay, so we are going to start because we have a lot to cover. Okay. Okay, so hello again. Thank you so much for joining me for this workshop. And today we are going to talk about creating and curating better images for your brand, especially for social media, but also other images. Here is our agenda for today. So I will first introduce myself a little bit. Then I will talk about why images matter, why we need to pay attention to images as business owners and as teachers and as human beings as such. Then we will talk about the top 5 mistakes we all make on social media. I mean, we online teachers. Then the main part of the workshop is the types of visuals that you can create for your brand. And hi, Alexandra. Great to see you here. And finally, we will talk about how we can work together. Because today you will get all the resources and tools and ideas, and you can work on your own, or maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want me to give you feedback and also others and to help you generate ideas. So I have also prepared something for you if that's the case. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself again. I'm Weronika Pawlowska. This is me on the left, and this is also me on the right. I think I was about 5 or 6 old, and this is me with my grandfather. Because we are talking about visual storytelling today, I wanted to share something more personal to show you my story. Because my grandfather was really an important person in my life, and he was a writer, and it is his fault, his job that I write and that I share my ideas, because he lived in this country during the time of totality, and it was really difficult for him to share his voice and his writing. He wrote short stories and even theater plays, but he couldn't really make money writing. He was a photographer and had many different jobs. So he is one of the reasons why my business is called Do You Speak Freedom? And as for my educational background, I studied English language here in the Czech Republic, and I also studied aesthetics. So if you have no idea what it means that I learned a lot about art history and the philosophy of art. And I didn't learn a lot about design in school, but everything I'm sharing comes from my own learning and my own experience and working with my clients and the people from our community. When I say our community, I mean the Smart Teachers Library that I co-founded with Elena Muchonon. Okay, so enough about me. Let's talk about why images matter. So it's said that we human beings process images 60,000 times faster. Now, I'm not even sure if this number is true or if it's accurate, but I want to use it to show you how images work. So when I say 1/6, if you just look at the words, I want you to feel the difference between this and this, right? when you actually look at this graph, I hope you can feel that you can better understand what this means. And now, when I show you this, it's even clearer, right? I mean, this is a little weird because I think that pizza is normally cut into 8 pieces, but still, everyone knows how pizza looks, and you can actually imagine what it means when you see something that you know from your experience, from your life. Now, when I say that something is 60 times faster, again, if you just read it or hear it, it's different than seeing this. And this is different than seeing this. So if the number is accurate, if it's true, then we can imagine that if it took us a minute to understand a word, a written word, then it would take us a second divided by 1000 to understand an image, which is still really crazy, but it gives us an idea. And I have one more example that I think is the best one. When you look at this versus this, can you feel the difference it makes? All right, we really we understand images not just faster, but I would say it's more natural. It's more direct when you see an image versus when you see a written word. So why is that? In fact, it's because of our history, because we are used to processing images for much longer time than words. Civilization, as we know it, is about 6,000 years old. Now, when we get back to the clock phase, we can imagine that it's like, if 6,000 is like an hour, this would be like 10 minutes. So this is the beginning of our era. And this is also about the time when the first books appeared. But it wasn't until, hi Ines, it wasn't until the invention of the printing press when the books spread among people. And it took a few more centuries. Here, a century is a minute, for literacy and for books to spread among people of all classes, or social classes, I mean. So I think it's clear. This whole time, and even before, we have been used to understanding images, but we as humans are still new to processing text. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. And if this is still too abstract, you can imagine it from the perspective of a human life. So when you are small, you also first learn to understand images, or you don't even need to learn it, you just understand them, right? You just see an image and you know what it means. But you learn to read much later, not much, but later in life. But it takes much more effort for you to learn to read. So that may be another reason why we prefer images. And one more reason, and this time we are talking about social media, why images are important, is because of the algorithm. The algorithm also prefers images. In case you don't know what this means, in the past, when you posted on social media, the post was shown to all of your followers at the time when you posted it. But nowadays, all the major social media like Instagram, Facebook, and even Twitter, they have an algorithm, and the algorithm decides what and to whom it shows. So when you post, it doesn't mean that all of your people see your posts. only a few of them see them. And then if they react, the algorithm may choose to show it to more people or not. And it's a little bit of a mystery because we don't really know how it works. It's kept secret so that people can't misuse the algorithm. But we do know one thing for sure, and that is that when you use visual content like images and videos, the algorithm will show it to more people because people like images, so the algorithm likes images too. Okay, let's move on and talk about the mistakes. The first mistake is no consistency. Now, if you've been following me, you may have seen this image in the past because I like to use it. It's from a Czech fairy tale by Karel Čapek. And in this fairy tale, Doggy and Pussycat are baking a cake. And they make it of ingredients that they like. Like you can see on the floor, there is a mouse and bones and sausages and things like that. And separately, all of these things are good, at least good for them. But when you blend them, the result is not so good. And this is also what happens on social media. You may use perfect, beautiful fonts, beautiful images, and great colors. But when you have no style and just mix everything together, the result will not be great. On the other hand, there is also such a thing as too much consistency. Because some people just create an image template and then use it for all of their images. And this is also not good. It is good for maybe for brand recognition because people will remember you. But on the other hand, in design, when there is too much of something, it gets more invisible. So people get used to it and then they won't stop scrolling when they see your image because they have seen it yesterday and the day before and for half a year and they are just bored. Okay, so the third mistake is selling too much. And I think in our industry it doesn't happen because there are some sleazy people here, but it happens because people have no system. So you get busy creating your program or online course or something and you stop posting on social media, but then you need to launch the program. So you post 10 promotional posts in a row, which is not good. On the other hand, not selling at all is also not good because then people think that you are just a hobby blogger, and when you actually start selling, they are not used to it. So social media is not a good place to sell all the time, but from time to time you need to remind people that you are a business. You need to train them to buy your stuff, not just get everything for free. And I know even here are people who really give away everything, free lessons, free books, and it is a good thing, but you also need to remember the second part, you need to sell from time to time. And the last one is staying inside of the box of your niche or industry. And I think in our case, it usually happens when we just teach and teach and teach all the time. So language teachers would just share idioms, vocabulary, and expressions, and they only go to social media to teach. And it is a good thing because teachers teach, but on the other hand, that's not why people go to social media. They go there to have fun, and mostly, I would say, to connect with people. So they want to connect with you and with other people who have the same interests. So your job is not just to teach or to sell, but to show your humanity and to connect with people and to connect people with each other. Now, the solution to all of these mistakes is this, creating categories for your posts. And here is what I mean. So let's say you are an Italian teacher. We have a few Italian teachers here. So you may create, you would probably need more. And I should have included the teaching category as well, but this is just an example. You could share lifestyle images where you would, I don't know, post pictures of Italian restaurants or whatever, cities or pizza, or I don't know. Then you can share quotes where you would quote famous Italian writers or whatever, images for your blog, then promotional images that remind people of how they can hire you or of your products or courses, whatever you have, and personal category where you would just share yourself. And here you can share your own art or whatever it is that makes you more human and that connects you to your people. I will give you more examples later. So when you imagine that you would like to post, let's say to Instagram every business day, once a day, and you have 5 categories, that's 4 images of each category for a month, if I'm right. And it doesn't have to be so consistent. Maybe you need you want less promotional images and more lifestyle images or whatever. It depends on your brand personality and on your content and on many other things. But this is just to show you how it may work. So this actually solves all the mistakes because each category will have its own style, so you will be consistent. But you will have a mix of images, so you won't be too consistent. You will also make sure that you are selling sometimes, but not all the time. And it will also get you outside of the box because you will share a mixture of many types of posts, not just the educational ones. Okay. Oh, this makes sense. And now let's talk about the types of images. So the first one is stock photos. Stock photos are those free photos that you can download, or not all of them are free, but most people use the free ones. And they are created for no specific purpose. So as a business owner, online business owner, you most probably can use them on social media, on your blog, website, or maybe in your on your products like book covers and things like that. And yeah. Here's how to use them on social media. You can either use them on their own, so you would just post the photo and add a caption or a description or something, or you can use them as a raw material to create your branded images, like here. And this is one of my featured images. Or you can also use them for quotes or create original art from stock photos. And I would say that it's always better to use them as a raw material. Even if you just post the image, you should somehow work with it before you post it. You should crop it and add your own filters. You can see that the colors are a little bit different. It's because I'm using a filter on the branded image, and I always use the same filter. So although the images are different and from different photographers, they still have a similar feeling and a similar style. And I will send you the resource book, and there will be a short tutorial on how to do this, how to add filters in Canva. It's really fast and simple. Here are some rules for stock photos, because many people are scared that they aren't sure which photos they can or can't use. So rule number 1 is use only stock photography websites. I will give you 2 websites that I think are the best. There are many more. But never download any images from other people's social media, from their blogs, from their websites, or even from Google or Pinterest, because all these images can be copyrighted and it's not worth it. Always make sure that you are allowed to use the photo and that you can use it commercially and that you can modify it. Now, the websites that I will show you, both of them allow you to do anything you want with your photos or with their photos, and you don't need to attribute the author. And finally, if you aren't sure, don't use the photo. So here are some more rules. Like I have said, the first one is, I haven't included it here, but I will say it again. Don't use stock photos as they are. Use them as a raw material, and don't be lazy and do something with it. It really takes a few seconds, and it makes a difference, because then the photos, when you apply your own filters or change them a little bit, they will be yours. They will be your brands, not someone else's photos. Secondly, avoid cliches. In each industry, there are cliches. I think in the online teaching industry, a lot of people are using these office photos of people giving presentations or working on their computers, or piles of books and people reading and learning. And also in the language teaching industry, there are a lot of flags and speech bubbles and things like that. So when you think of it from the perspective of your client, you aren't the only teacher that they follow. If they want to learn Italian, they follow 5 Italian teachers, and all of them are using the same colors, and all of them are using the same photography, the same style, and the same topics. So how can you make yourself different so they can remember you? And finally, don't say the same thing twice. So you can see when I write pizza and put the image there, it's not as powerful as if I do one or the other. So what I recommend is just having a keywords for your brand and creating collections of photos. So when you write about I don't know, how to avoid stress, don't use the keyword stress, because first of all, you want to keep it positive, because images evoke emotions, and you don't want your people to feel bad when they see your images. So when you talk about stress or fears or shame, which are all topics that we as teachers need to talk about, but we can still keep it positive, right? To share positive photos and not photos of desperate people or I don't know. So you may write down a few keywords for your brand, and then create collections of photos that will go together well with your brand. And don't just look for photos that literally illustrate what you are writing about. Okay, hope it makes sense. Yes, here are the 2 stock photo websites. There are many of them, but I have found out that the more resources I give to people, the more confused they get, because then they don't know which ones to use. So these are the ones that I actually use, and both of them are free. On the raw pixel, you can download you can download 100 images, which is more than enough. 100 images a month, and Unsplash is unlimited. And on the raw pixel, you need to create an account to be able to download the images without their watermark. And on Unsplash, you don't need an account, but I still recommend it because then you can create the collections right in Unsplash. And when you actually set aside 20 minutes a month, or yeah, that should be enough, 20 minutes a month to create a collection, you can save a lot of time, because when you just sit down to look for the perfect photo, you get into this scarcity mindset, and you may spend the whole 20 minutes looking for the perfect photo. But when you just give yourself time, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't take much effort, and create the collections, you can really create a collection of 10 or 15 or 20 photos that are good and that you can use. And then when you need them, you just go to your collection, grab one of those photos and create the image that you want to share, as opposed to doing everything at once. And it really saves you a lot of time. Okay, moving on, stock illustrations. I really love this because most people don't know that you can actually use not just stock photos, but also stock illustrations. Here you can see some examples. And here is where I got them. It's raw pixel again. So if you can see the little arrows, when you search for something on raw pixel, you need to say that you want free images, because there is premium version too. And then you can specify that you want illustrations. And these illustrations are like stock photos. You can use them on your social media or however you want, and you don't need to attribute anyone. And again, like with stock photos, I recommend that you modify the illustrations to match your brand. Another thing that I love is the public domain. Public domain is a collection of images that don't have copyright. These are usually old images, more than 70 years old, I think. So you can just use them because they aren't copyrighted anymore. And in the resource book, I will include a few links to public domain websites that you can use. But for my brand, I use raw pixel too. If you can see the arrow here on raw pixel, you can just click public domain and you will get all of these amazing collections that you can download and use for free, because there is no copyright on these images. Okay, your own photos. Now, I think we can agree that sharing something that you have created is much better than any stock photos or illustrations, because your own art shows your personality and your humanness and connects you to your people much better. Here are just some random ideas of photos that you can create or that you can take for your brand. You can take behind the scenes photos of I don't know, yourself working, or your office, or your work in progress. or you can take photos that that aren't connected with your business, but with your hobbies, like travel photos or sports photos or whatever. Then you can take photos of your products. I will talk about it more later. And selfies. I just love looking at selfies on social media. And if you're on the list, and which I think all of you are, you have the free workbook where I give you some ideas of the selfies that you can create for your brand. So I'm sure you can come up with many more ideas of what you can create. I want to show you 2 examples. I think you recognize these. This is Elena Muchonono's Instagram. And I'm just sharing it to show you that you don't have to only teach on social media and only share things that are connected to your business. As you can see, Elena is sharing photos of her kids and of her town and of her life. And sometimes she connects it to her business, like in the sense that she talks about her core message, which is not working 24/7, but making time for friends and for family and for creativity and life. But she doesn't sell anything here. She just shares herself. But obviously she uses other social media to sell, but not just. And the second example is Tara McMullen. You probably know her too. She runs the network that used to be called Co-Commercial. Now it's called What Works. And you can also see that she shares some business photos, like herself doing her podcast, or herself with her community manager, or even links to her articles. But she also shares things that are not connected with her business at all, like her hiking adventures and sports and so on. And again, sometimes she connects it with her core message and with her business, and sometimes she just shows her life to show that she's a real person with an offline life. When I say analog art, I mean anything that you do with your hands. And in our community, some people tell me that that they create a lot of art in real life, but they don't know how to create art for social media, because it's not the same. So why don't you just take photos of your analog art and share it online? Like I said, not everything needs to be connected to your business in a direct way, so you can definitely do it. Here are some examples. Again, a lot of people in our community do doodles and drawings, and you can also do hand lettering, watercolor. That's my thing. You can do comics. I will talk about it later too. And you can do a lot of things. And you can just take photos and share it online. It's one of the best things that you can do on social media, because this is absolutely original, unlike stock photos. And it's also 100% you. Yeah, I have edited this slide to show you that you don't need to the drawings don't need to be complicated. You don't need to be an artist. Anyone can draw these graphs and things like that. It's actually pretty simple. And this is an Instagram from someone who calls himself Postmodern Paul, and it's pretty popular and funny, and I'm sure you can do something like this too, and anyone can, in fact. Yeah. let's talk about the tools that you can use to create your images. So first of all, Canva, or Canva for Work, which is the paid version of Canva. And I'm sure all of you here know and use Canva. It's really simple and it's really fast. And I think it's great for creating branded images and branded social media graphics. But the problem is that in Canva, you can't do any advanced editing. There is no way to use brushes or what you need, the eyedropper tool or advanced selection. You can only crop squares and rectangles in Canva and other things. So if you want to do some advanced editing to your own art or to the public domain images, for example, because these are, a lot of them are just scanned pages from old books. So you can't use them as they are. You need to somehow adjust them and crop the parts that you want to use. So you need some advanced tool to be able to do this. So obviously Photoshop. Now I just want to make sure that if you have a Photoshop subscription, that you know that you can use Adobe Spark for free. If you don't have Photoshop, you don't need it, but I found out that some people pay for Photoshop and they pay for Canva, which is useless because you can use Adobe Spark. It's similar to Canva and it's really easy to use and you can use it for free. So this is just for people who have Photoshop. If you don't have Photoshop and don't want to invest in it, because it's not just financial investment. In fact, it's not that pricey. It's about the same price as Canva for Work. But I would say it's time investment because you need to learn how to work with it. So if you don't want Photoshop, here are some cheaper alternatives. Zone Photo Studio for Windows and Pixelmator for Mac. And these tools have all the advanced features that I have mentioned. I have Photoshop, but I use Zoner Photo Studio too because Photoshop is really, it's very slow. Like when you launch it, it takes like 10 minutes before it's ready to work, and I just somehow sometimes need to do something fast. So I use Zoner Photo Studio for this, and it's like Photoshop with less features, but also less overwhelming. And I'm on Windows, so I don't have experience with Pixelmator, but I have heard that it's pretty easy to use too, and it's a good alternative to Photoshop. And these both are paid tools, but they are much cheaper than Photoshop. And I believe both of them have free trials, so you can just try if you want to learn how to use them, and if it's too much for you, then you can cancel and forget about it. And the last tool I wanted to share here is the Sketchbook by Autodesk. And this is great if you create drawings or comics or doodles, because with this tool you can download it to your phone or tablet or whatever for free, and then you just take photos of your analog art and you can digitize it and you can remove the background and work with it however you want. Yeah, I love Adobe Spark. Yeah, Tatiana says me too. Yeah, me too. It's really easy to use, and once you put there your brand, then you just with one click generate a lot of images that are on brand and that look awesome. I think it's better than Canva, but Canva has its own features that Adobe Spark doesn't have. Yeah, branded images. Branded images, definitely better than Canva, yeah. Yeah, Canva can get really, really frustrating sometimes. But on the other hand, it's really simple and fast. Branded images, by this I mean featured images that you use for your blog images or for your blog articles, and that you then share on social media, and pins if you use Pinterest, and other branded images may be quotes if you have a template for quotes and you have a category where you share quotes on social media. Then you can create event invitations, like webinar invitations or Facebook Live invitations, and so on. So in Canva, you can just, or whatever you use in Adobe Spark, you can just create a template and then use it to really quickly come up with your branded images. Now, here you can see what I think should be on a branded image. There should definitely be your brand fonts so that you are consistent with your fonts. And I like to use the same fonts that I use on the website, use them on the image so that everything looks consistent. The same with the colors. Then your brand filters, I have to talk about this before, and that you should have your filter and always use the same so that all your images have the same atmosphere and feeling. And in the resource book, I will link to, I have made a really short video just to show you where you find the filters in Canva, if you want to do it in Canva. And then also, because these images, especially pins, are used outside of your own social media, I would include the URL. And possibly you can also include your logo. I don't like to do that because, like I said, if you see something too many times, it becomes less visible. So I don't like to use my logos everywhere, but you can do it if you just have a simple logo. Yeah. Here you can see the pins. I don't know if anyone here uses Pinterest, but you can also create them really fast in Canva. Just create a brand template, and yes, Alexandra and Sylvia, yeah, and Elena use Pinterest. Cool. Yeah, and Kelly wants to use Pinterest. I have a quite detailed article about Pinterest on my blog, so I will link to it too if you want to check it out. But here I just wanted to say one thing. These are the pins that I created for Leo listening. I don't know if Kara is here too, or if she is going to watch the recording, but I wanted to show you the mistake that we made here. On one of the pins, you can see that it says, or it's called 3 tips to spice up your TED Talks. Now, this makes sense in the context of Kara's blog, because she talks about understanding native speakers, and understanding, at that time she talked about understanding TED Talks and podcasts and things like that. But when you see this on Pinterest, you may think that it's about creating your own TED Talk. So I'm only mentioning it because it's really important when you create pins to make sure that they make sense outside of your blog. So to be more accurate with not just the pin description, which is really important for the search engine optimization on Pinterest, but also the thing that you actually write on the pin, so that it makes sense to people who just see your pin among others and have no idea what you do. So I think we should have added something like for English learners here, or I don't know, something so that it makes sense and it's clear that it's not for people who are getting ready for their own TED Talks, because that's not what Kara is talking about. Mockups. Mockups are these digital models of your products. There may be the products may be digital or physical, and you can create these things, these mockups in Photoshop really easily. I like to use them because I have found out also, not just for my brand, but all the other brands, that whenever you show people what's inside, the conversion get up. So even if it's a free thing and you show people what they will actually get and they sign up, more people are going to sign up. And if you use mockups on your sales page and your sales visuals, more people are likely to buy from you, because again, it's the power of visuals. They can imagine themselves using your thing. Now, these mockups have been created in Photoshop, but if you don't have Photoshop, you can use Canva. I will show you how to, because in Canva it's really easy to not to get your mockups right. Let's put it this way. Or there is one more tool that's called Smart Mockups, I believe, that you can use online, and you can generate similar mockups. Here are some mistakes to avoid. First of all, don't create a hardcover thick book mockup for a 20-page PDF book. The mockups should, even if they are just mockups, they shouldn't be lying. Right, so this is something I see a lot, and yeah, it's better to create just screenshots in Canva than to do something like this. Then, like I said, in Canva you can find some mockups, but I would say they look quite unprofessional. So I wouldn't use Canva mockups. I would use Canva in a different way. I will show you how in a second. And finally, I've just stolen this image from Fiverr because I just wanted to show you what I mean when I say CDs and DVDs, because I can still see it and I don't understand why this happens. But some people sell just an access to an online course, and they would create a mock-up that looks like you are getting some CDs or some box or something. So again, don't lie about what people are getting. And this is like, I don't know, 1990s. It's actually quite funny, but I can still see it on some websites of people who teach online. And yes, here are the easiest mockups that you can just simply create in Canva. You can use small PDF, which is a free online tool to, if you have PDF products, you can turn the PDFs into PNGs, I think, into images, let's say, and then upload them to Canva and just create these really simple mockups. This one is for real listening, and the second one was for English with a twist. And this doesn't look realistic, but it doesn't matter. It shows people how the things look, and these mockups don't lie, and they are really easy to create. But I believe that still the best thing you can do if you have workbooks, worksheets, checklists, anything like that is just to print it out and take a photo, because a photo is better than any mockup. And you can actually do something like this. This was a calligraphy workbook, but you can do the same. You can show people how you are using these worksheets or workbooks, and it looks much better than mockups. It connects better, I would say. Here are some more product ideas. If you only have an online course and want to show people what's inside, you probably have some worksheets or a workbook or something that goes with the online course, so you can use that. You can print it out or just create a mock-up, or you can take screenshots of how the course looks inside, just the list of lessons, just to show people, just so people can imagine like being inside. That's the whole point of mockups and product images. Now, what if you only do coaching or Skype lessons? You can still create product images. You can take a screenshot of your client portal if you have anything like that. I mean, that's the place where you keep your homework assignments or the list of your lessons or anything like that. Some people use just password protected pages on their websites. Some people use Trello or Asana. It can be anything. You can make screenshots, mockups, or photos of the materials that you use, because you probably do use something. You can take photos of yourself in front of the computer. That's great, because then people can imagine that you are not just the head in front of the computer, that you are a real human being. And or you can take a photo of you and your client during the Skype lesson, I mean. Or if you have something like a welcome package, like a PDF or something that you send to your clients, you can also use that and create a mockup or take a photo. Yeah, we have a question here from Alexandra. Do you think we should create a different color palette, fonts, images for our online course products? Something different from the images fonts we generally use on our website? I love this question, and I think the answer is yes. Yeah, sorry, I just got distracted by the second question. Yeah, I will go back. Do you mean this one, Ines? This one? Yes. Okay. Back to Alexandra's question. Yeah, I do like to create a whole new branding for each of the products. And it should fit with your brand, but it should be a little bit different, right? So I wouldn't probably use different fonts, although I I have done that too, but I would definitely use different colors for a little bit different feeling. And I would even create a simple logo for the online course, because then it looks more luxurious, I would say. And I don't know, it just it looks like you weren't lazy, and when it has its own branding, it's like a new thing, and that there is also this element of surprise. People are used to seeing something from you, and then you have something that looks different and they get excited. So yes, I would use something a little bit different for a new product, or even probably for a freebie, to make it a little bit different than the things that you usually share, and definitely for an online course. Okay, have we covered this? Yes. Now GIFs or GIFs, not sure how to pronounce it, but it doesn't matter. I will just say GIFs. These are the images that move. This is not a GIF, it's in the presentation, because I haven't found a way to insert a GIF here, but just to show you what I mean when I say animated GIF. I won't show you how to create one here, because we don't have time, and I think you will want to follow along the tutorial. So I will link to, I have created a tutorial in Loom, and I will link to it in the resources, so you can try it for yourself, because these moving images really grab attention on social media, and they are pretty popular. I have a question about categories, collections of images. How do you look for them? Based on what? Free associations. I would say based on your the topics you talk about and your brand personality, and then you can get creative from there. Right. Oh, I thought you were writing something. Does it make sense? It depends on when you are talking about, and also what feelings you want to evoke in people. So then you can get outside the box of your niche. For example, I don't know, your clients are language learners, but they may also be, I don't know, book lovers or introverts or many other things. So you can brainstorm and get creative and create the images for them, or not just images, but any content. Yeah, hope it answers the question. And okay, we are running out of time, so I will just quickly talk about memes. What are they? These are viral images that have some cultural meaning or some cultural message, and their main purpose is to entertain. So I think you probably know these. The grumpy cat is really popular, or one does not simply. It's like everywhere, and there are free meme generators that you can theoretically use to create your own images, but the copyright is questionable, because I have found out that, for example, the grumpy cat is in fact copyrighted, and people keep sharing thousands of images every day. So it's not likely that someone will sue you for it, but still, you are a business and you want to make sure that everything is legal. So what I recommend is coming with your own cultural images or memes or funny images. And it sounds like something really difficult to do, but again, you can really keep it simple. This is just something I saw on Instagram, and I thought, like, this is really easy to do, and almost 1,000 people like this because people like this kind of funny things, of jokes. And I think when you know who the people are that you are creating the images for, it's not so difficult to come up with funny things to say. If you want a prompt to come up with funny things, on BuzzFeed, they often share these 50 things only someone would understand. So 50 things only introverts understand. And then you can use your ideal client and brainstorm these things and then go from there and create some funny content. Or this one, I think this is really, it's so simple, but so effective and so funny. And if you don't feel like a funny person or it doesn't go together well with your brand personality, you can just try some, I would say, feel-good images that just make people feel better about themselves. And again, this is something really simple, and I think anyone can create something like this. And you don't have to be an artist, and you don't have to know how to draw realistically, because the most popular comics and images look like this, right? This one has 15,000 likes because people actually relate to these imperfect images that anyone can draw much better than to some more complicated ones. Or this one, right? And I have one more example. This is from the postmodern poll again. So this is just to show you that you can create your own things, and it's not so difficult. Okay. Finally, I would like to invite you to the visual storytelling coworking. This is the thing I talked about in the beginning. If you want me to help you with your collections and with your images, this is for you. So we will meet 3 times for 3 weeks in small groups to define your categories and your style for each of the categories, to collect material, and to create collections of images that you can use. And I will help you brainstorm ideas, and I will give you feedback on the things that you create. And I hope it depends on the time zone. So I hope you'll be actually able to meet in small groups. I would like to start the 3rd week of February, and the investment, because you have already invested in this workshop, and I won't be giving you any new instructions, just the space and accountability and feedback. So your investment is $65 for the whole thing, for 3 meetings. I will send you the invitation on email if you want to join me, if you don't want to create your visuals alone. And I think that's all I wanted to. I hope I have answered all questions. If you have any more questions, you can write me an email and I will try to answer them. And you will also get the resource book as I promised, and the invitation to the coworking. Okay. I will just wait if there are any more questions from you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your kind words. Goodbye. Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.